Ha. Welcome to Korean 101. I think the biggest barrier people face when learning Korean is actually understanding how the alphabet works. It looks intimidating, there's a lot of new shapes. However, it's easier than you think. Once you get a hold on this, you'll be able to start learning vocabulary and grammar pretty easily. I'm gonna make it as simple and painless as possible, so let's get right into it. Alright, let's get into it! Lesson 1. Consonants and vowels. Here are the beautiful consonants we're going to be working with. They look like all these little tiny shapes. And here are their English counterparts. Let's go over them together. Geese and ducks learn metal bending secretly. Juvenile chickens kiddingly teepee houses. What? So you may have noticed the O having no equivalent in English. This is because it's an invisible consonant that takes on the properties of the vowel. What do I mean by that? All Korean characters are at least a combination of a consonant and a vowel, represented by C and V here. Therefore, when you write vowels, it needs to be paired up with an O consonant mentioned earlier to make a sound. Let's take a look. Ta-da! Here are the vowels. Let's go over them. Ah. Ya, ya, o, yo, you, e. Notice that there are vertical and horizontal vowels, the stick things. You could tell where the consonant goes by the formats I gave earlier, as well as the general placement of the O. The first format is for vertical vowels, and the second format is for horizontal vowels. Also, peep the fact that a turns into ya because another line was added to it. This goes for o, u as well. Time to mix and match. Like I said, in order to make a sound, we need a consonant to be with a vowel, so this goes with all the consonants I've listed earlier. So now, we could just replace the O and get new sounds. So, for example, the N sound plus an A sound will get na. A B sound with a yo sound would make a byo sound. Now this is a little tricky, but an S and an E sound will not make C, but will make she. An L/R sound with a ya sound would make a lia sound. I'll say it once more. Ya. If you're having trouble, it's l, ya, lia, lia. You got it. Now let's practice. Did you know Korean actually has a lot of English words in them? So in order for us to practice, I thought it was a good idea to implement some of these English words that we're familiar with and add the Korean spelling to them. I'll do the first one with you, and if you want, you could pause the video and do it on your own, and I will reveal the answers later. Starting with piano, we already know that piano has 3 distinct sounds: P, A, and no. Let's start with P. P is going to have the P consonant with the E vowel. A is going to have the invisible O consonant with the A vowel. And then lastly, no is going to have the N consonant with the O vowel. And there we have it, piano. Now here are the rest of the spellings. 커피, 피자, 라디오, 바나나, 우유, 모자, 두부. How did you do? It's okay if you got things wrong here. You can always keep practicing. Now moving on to the second lesson. Okay, the second lesson is all about friendship. We have this word here, 친구. It's the Korean word for friend. We know how to spell chi, gu. What the? So a friend is a good example of how a consonant could sound after a vowel in the same character. Here are the new formats you need to follow for these types of characters. As you can see, it's lower than both the consonants and vowels we have shown previously. And that's the way you learn Korean using the power of friendship. Now time for even more practice. Okay, you are grown now. You're able to do this on your own. So pause the video, write down your answers. and then we will go over the answers together later. Good luck. Woo! We got this. First off, computer. Easy. Ice cream. Next, kimchi. Of course. 오늘. Alright, next one. 안녕. 안녕. Moving on. Okay. Easy. Chocolate with the T. What? Oh. Then this is O with the T. No? So what's the catch? You already know. It's another lesson. Lesson 2.5. The O at the bottom has an NG sound, as in song, sing, lung, and kong. Whereas S at the bottom sounds like T. Take for example 옷, the word for clothes mentioned earlier. And since it has an S at the bottom, it will sound like a T. However, there's an exception. If you have a character next to it with an O as the consonant, it will take on the sound of the S. So this word with an E will be oshi. This goes for all characters with something on the bottom with an O as the consonant next to it. So for example, this word with the T at the bottom and A right next to it will be 같아. In most cases, when you have an H at the bottom, you won't really pronounce it. For example, this word, 좋아, to mean like, doesn't really sound like 좋아. It sounds more like 좋아 or 좋아. There are a lot more exceptions to these rules, but I'll tell you one here. For this word with the H at the bottom and a D right next to it, it would be pronounced 좋다 with a T. So looking back, now you understand how to spell all these words from this practice sheet. One last thing, you could actually have two consonants on the bottom. As you can see, this word has two consonants, an L sound and a G sound. How the heck are you going to pronounce it? Well, this is the word for chicken, and it's pronounced 닭. In the case for this word, meaning a lot, there is two consonants on the bottom, an N and an H, but as we already know, H doesn't really make a sound, so you could just say 많이 for this one. Alright, no more trickery. I'm already going to tell you you don't know how to spell this word, but we'll work on it together. You already know how to say no, but what is this eh sound? We know it starts with the L sound, but what's this eh? Well, this is our introduction to mixing vowels. Just like being able to have two consonants, you could have two vowels working together to make a new sound. For example, if you mix an A and an E, it'll make 에. Cool. And now we could also spell song, 노래. Now here's some other ones you need to know. 어 plus E will also make the 에 sound. 야 and E will make 예. Same goes for 여 and E. And E would make 의, 이, 의. O and A will make 와. U and E will make we. O and E and U and E will make the we sound, as well as O and E, we. Whew, that was a lot, but you got this. You just need to memorize a little bit, and you're almost there. So, lesson 4. Let's get this bread. Okay, no, for real, we're gonna learn about bread. Bread in Korean is bang. As you can see, the English spelling I put right here has a double B, and I did not stutter. It's supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be a B with emphasis. See, I didn't lie. There's two B's right there. These double B right next to each other would make a harder sounding B. So for example, if it just was one B, it would sound like bang. But with the two B's, it would be bang. Do you see the difference? Not all of the consonants are able to do this. You could only use this for the G sound D sound, B sound, S sound, and J sound. Another example is the Korean word for rice cake, 떡. It has a very prominent D sound, and this is in comparison with only a regular one D sound. It would be 떡 versus 떡, if that makes any sense. Now moving on. Woo! You have now finished Korean 101! I'm going to leave you with some phrases and you're able to read all of them and say all of them. So you did it! You're done! Congratulations! 안녕하세요. 사랑해요. 수고했어요. 감사합니다. Thank you for watching my video. Share it with your friends. I hope you had a good time. See ya!